I'm about to share some pretty unpopular skincare opinions with you. So, yes, I have what's probably considered, especially by today's standards, some pretty unpopular opinions when it comes to skincare. And if you already know by now, if you've watched my other videos or read my blog posts, I am a 48-year-old former model. I modeled nationally and internationally for top agencies like Elite Model Management, and I didn't take my skincare seriously until I turned 40, which means I was a very free and happy and insouciant person up until that point because I just didn't really care about much when it came to skincare aside from keeping my skin clean and battling with the occasional breakout. And what I'm seeing now, which is the unpopular opinion that I'm going to have, is that skincare routines are being heavily, heavily pushed to really, really young girls. And I think that's a mistake. As a matter of fact, I was just speaking with one of my really good girlfriends who's also a former model. She was one of my roommates back in the day in our model apartments, and she is now a holistic health and nutrition coach up in Canada. And she's actually been quite surprised at the high number of really young girls, like 12 and 13-year-old girls, that she's had to talk to about using products that are like retinoid products and anti-aging products, because so many of them are already wanting or feeling the need to use anti-aging skincare. And I think the problem with that is, and it's even a problem for a lot of us as adults because social media is so addicting, is that these kids are going on to these short form platforms and they're watching influencers basically tell them with their get ready with me videos that they need to start using like 6, 7, 8 products worth of anti-aging things every morning and every night. And it's ridiculous. So I think that it needs to stop. And I think as parents, we really need to step in and be aware of what our kids are being sold and teach them really what's important. So first of all, you shouldn't be worried about anti-aging really until you're in your 30s, in my humble opinion, aside from doing, something like using a nice natural sunscreen to protect your skin from the damaging rays of the sun if you're out in the sun for more than 20 minutes at a time. But outside of that, when you're a young person, you really, really should be just focusing on good hygiene. What should you do for your face as a young person? You don't need to be as extreme as I was. I grew up with no money, so it was like ivory soap and water, and that was it until I was in high school. Then I started to get a couple of breakouts, and it was a splurge to get like a little pot of Noxzema face wash and some Sea Breeze astringent. And that along with some Vaseline, because I didn't know that petroleum-based products weren't good for you back then. Those were basically my skincare items. I didn't use moisturizer. I didn't even use sunscreen until I was in my late 30s. So I think that what's important is to have a very simple skincare routine, which consists of a gentle cleanser. If you wear makeup, and that's going to be a topic for another day, I don't think that you need to be covering yourself up with lots of makeup and lashes and nails when you're young. You should just this is when you look the best and you're fresh, and you should let your skin breathe. But if you want to wear makeup because that's, what you enjoy, then maybe using a cleansing balm so that you can do a double cleanse and really get all the gunk out of your pores. Use a toner after you wash your face to get rid of any residue, and that's particularly true if you have, oily skin. And then a nice light moisturizer, because even if you have oily skin, a nice moisturizer is going to protect your skin barrier. And that's pretty much it. And then, like I said, if you're out in the sun, you should get a little bit of natural sun without sunscreen every day. 10, 15 minutes is safe and good and actually really important for your vitamin D production. But if you're going to spend more than that outside, put on a nice sunscreen, because that's really going to help protect your skin in the long run. And then focus on your lifestyle. That's what I find, I think, most frustrating about this new anti-aging trend for young people, is that nobody's really addressing the lifestyle component. It doesn't matter how many skincare products you use, what serum, cream, mask, procedure, whatever it is that you use, what's ultimately going to determine the quality of your skin weighs heavily on lifestyle choices. So I'm privy to a lot of Snapchat and Instagram accounts, and it is shockingly common to see really young kids, we're talking barely out of their tweens, vaping, drinking, out partying till 3, 4 in the morning, pulling all-nighters without even being in college and having to. All of those, oh, and eating, diet, horrible, eating really, really chemical, processed, nasty foods. All of those things are going to affect your skin. They're going to affect your hormone, which is going to lead to breakouts. They're going to affect all sorts of different health processes in your body, which are also going to lead to accelerated aging. And making healthy lifestyle choices will maintain the integrity of your skin, your body, your mental health, and everything moving forward for the rest of your life. So why not push that and teach kids that, as opposed to let's buy hyaluronic acid and glycolic acid and alpha hydroxy serums and this night cream and that night cream, and let's make sure they're really expensive brands that not even your mom probably uses. It's nuts to me. And I feel like if your kid's asking you for these crazy routines, say no. You don't have to buy things for your kids just because they ask. I'm not one of those moms. I'm the uncool mom. I like to educate my kids about what's important, even if it makes them unhappy for a minute. But in the long run, like I said, those skincare products are not going to do anything for them, but their lifestyle choices will. I think it's also important to educate our kids that all of these influencers that they are seeing online telling them to buy and use all of these amazing products, while they're beautiful and lovely and they're great at what they do, they are basically advertisers. They're advertising these products because they're getting a cut. They're either affiliates or they're sponsored posts, or they just get a lot of views. And so they're making money for their views. And I'm no stranger to that because clearly I have a blog and a YouTube channel. I think the difference here is that I am a middle-aged woman and my audience is mainly middle-aged women, although anyone of any age is welcome to read my blogs and watch my videos. But what I suggest are things that I actually use, that I discovered on my own. There are a few companies that I work with. And again, as a middle-aged woman, these are products that I can recommend because they work on middle-aged skin. And this is the time in life when you can start addressing that anti-aging. I hate that term, but it is what is used, so we're just going to go with it. That's when we start really looking into things to just keep our skin looking as healthy and vibrant as possible for as long as possible. You don't need to have those worries when you're 10, 11, 12, 13, even into your 20s, which also brings me to want to talk about the whole baby talks movement and how girls as young as 18 and 19 are now being marketed to for these, I guess, mini Botox injections. So when it comes to Botox, if you're an older woman and you want to use Botox to give yourself a more refreshed look or just minimize some of the fine lines and wrinkles, I think that's great. I think that's what it was intended for. But for really young girls to start becoming basically lifelong customers to these injections is not the best idea. I won't get started on what you could be doing with that money instead, because if you're starting that young and you're going to keep getting these things done for decades, that's a lot of time and money, a lot. And we also still don't know. There are no long-term research studies done when it comes to where those injections actually go. There are some studies that are starting to come out. Again, do your research. That show that things like filler and Botox don't completely leave your body. They may leave the area that they were injected in, but they will migrate to other parts of your body. So that's something to consider. If you're starting to get treatments like that done really, really young, what's that going to mean 20 to 30 years down the line? And I know that when we're young, we don't necessarily think about these things, but we should also not be thinking about avoiding aging when we're that young. I am so grateful that I grew up when I grew up which was, even though I was in the modeling industry, there was absolutely no obsession, at least none that I was exposed to stay young. Models have always been younger. Now we're seeing a little bit more of, just inclusivity in the modeling world. But it was never like my roommates and I and the other models that I worked with, our agents, the makeup artists, nobody was pushing this anti-aging stuff on us at all. It was never even mentioned. So I think like the only thing we would ever really worry about was breakouts, because this was like back in a time where even Photoshop was not necessarily that, you didn't want your client to have to take care of all that. So anti-aging for young girls needs to stop. The other thing I wanted to address that my daughter, who's 16, brought up to me the other day is that now, parents beware, there is a trend for young girls to not pull facial expressions because they're afraid that it's going to give them wrinkles. I'm half Cuban, so I am extremely expressive, and I think that's part of what makes us human and what makes us beautiful are the expressions that we make. The little crinkles in the corner of your eyes, the crinkles on the side of your nose, the ability to raise your eyebrows. I have a crooked smile. And all of those things that I just mentioned are things that actually got me work when I was modeling. And I don't know, this push for people to just like look like, I don't know, an animation or animatronic Disney robot thing with no expression at all is creepy, and it bothers me. And it was one of the reasons why I decided to start a YouTube channel alongside with my blog, is because especially in my age range, I just was finding it really hard to find influencers and people that gave good skincare advice that had still natural faces. Like, I want to see your face move when you're telling me about something that is good for my face. I can just, the whole frozen newscaster thing, I don't think it's great. I don't think it's healthy. And I think that it sets a bizarre standard for young people. So if we've got these teenagers that are afraid to move their faces, that's crazy to me. I think that we need to be cautious because it is a form of dysmorphia. So, we've got like a lot of kids battling with, their relationship with food in order to look a certain way. I think we need to be cautious about the same thing happening with how they see their faces and how obsessed they're becoming with anti-aging. Aging is a privilege, folks. Not everybody's promised another year. Does that mean that we want to completely let ourselves go? No, but there's a time and a place for everything. And when you're young, you need to be free mentally and enjoy your youth and do fun things, and don't spend that time lining up your bathroom counter with, 15 different skincare products, and worry when you're talking to people that you need to keep your face still, because that's not fun to look at, is it? It's not. It is not fun to look at. Move your face, laugh, cry, make funny faces at your friends. Have fun. I don't know. It breaks my heart. I just feel like teenagers nowadays are just under a completely different type of pressure than we ever were in. And it just makes parenting that much harder. I am lucky, but I also teach by example. So my daughter is very low maintenance when it comes to, skincare and makeup and all that kind of stuff. But it is a constant reminder. We watch a lot of these videos and shows together, and I'm shocked. I'm just shocked at the skincare products that some of these really young girls are already using. It's just, it's unnecessary. I mean, listen, don't you miss not having to think about all of that stuff? Imagine if we had started worrying about that when we were 12. Anyway, that's my unpopular opinion, because at the end of the day, all of these videos, especially the short form videos on those particular platforms that seem to suck in our teenagers, are basically advertisements. And teenagers don't see it that way. They don't understand that that's all it is it's basically a commercial for products. and that those influencers, even though they're amazing at what they do and they're so pretty and just like have great personalities, they're not your friend. They're not telling you to use things because they're good for you. They're telling you to use things because it makes them money. And great, they're little entrepreneurs. That's awesome. But we as the parents need to make sure our kids remember that. So I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. I know it's an unpopular opinion, and if I get called out by certain people because they don't like it, that I'm saying that they're just advertising products, well, so be it. But like I said, there's a time and a place for everything. You really, really, really shouldn't be worrying about the aging process when you're young. Anyway, that's it for today. So go ahead, click like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I'm rewiring adulthood, or in this case, the teen years, with you. And drop me a comment below. Tell me something that you miss about being a young person, because, those were good times, weren't they? We weren't worried about all this stuff. I miss that. See you next time.